Welcome, my friends. Once upon a time, deep in the heart of a valley where the sun always seemed to shine just a little bit brighter, and the dewdrops glittered like diamonds, lived a kind-hearted farmer named Farmer Joe. He had a big red barn that was home to all sorts of wonderful farmyard creatures. But most especially, it was home to 3 old tractors. They were unlike any other tractors you've ever seen before because they had a very special secret. They could talk. Yes, you heard that right. Tractors with a secret life. Farmer Joe loved these tractors more than anything. There was old Rusty, a sturdy old tractor painted a brilliant red, as bright as the setting sun. Then there was Sprout, a zippy yellow tractor who loved nothing more than zooming around the farm at lightning speed. And lastly, there was Spark, a shiny blue tractor who was always tinkering and inventing new things. Now, these tractors weren't just any ordinary tractors. No, sir. They were magical tractors. You see, long ago, they used to race through the valley at breakneck speed, their engines roaring like playful lions. They were the fastest, most daring tractors in the land. But as the years went by, their engine grew weary and their wheels grew tired. And so they stopped racing and settled down in Farmer Joe's barn, spending their days telling stories and their nights whispering secrets to the stars. One day, a little boy named Toto, who lived on the edge of the valley, heard about these talking tractors. He couldn't believe it. Talking tractors? How could such a thing exist? But something inside him, some little voice kept whispering, "Go ask Farmer Joe. Go ask Farmer Joe." So off he went, skipping down the lane towards Farmer Joe's house. As he approached the barn, he heard the faint sound of laughter and the murmur of voices. Peeking through a crack in the wall, he saw the 3 tractors, Old Rusty, Sprout, and Spark, gathered together around a small table. They were laughing and playing checkers, and it looked like so much fun. Toto's heart pounded with excitement. This was a secret worth uncovering. He waited until the tractors finished their game, then walked up to the door and knocked. The tractors fell silent. "Who's there?" Old Rusty asked cautiously. Toto took a deep breath. "It's just me, Toto, from down the road. I couldn't help but overhear you talking earlier. Are you really tractors who can talk?" The tractors exchanged surprised glances. They hadn't realized anyone was listening. "Well, yes," Spark replied, a bit embarrassed. "But it's a secret. You can't tell anyone." Toto promised to keep their secret and asked if he could play a game with them. The tractors agreed, and soon they were all playing checkers together. Toto was amazed. He couldn't believe he was playing a board game with talking tractors, but it felt like the most natural thing in the world. He spent hours with the tractors, playing games, telling jokes, and listening to their stories. They told him about their adventures, the races they used to win, and the farmyard friends they'd made along the way. And as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Toto knew it was time to go. "Can I come back tomorrow?" he asked, his eyes shining with hope. The tractors nodded. "Of course," said Sprout. "We'll be here in the afternoon, just as the sun climbs high in the sky." And so Toto skipped home, his heart overflowing with joy. He couldn't wait to tell his mom about his new friends, but he knew she wouldn't believe him. Talking tractors were just too fantastical, so he kept it a secret, going back to the barn every afternoon to play with Old Rusty, Sprout, and Spark. Days turned into weeks, and Toto and the tractors became the best of friends. They had so much fun together. They played hide-and-seek amongst the hay bales, raced each other through the fields, and even had tractor-powered picnics. It was an idyllic summer, filled with sunshine, laughter, and the sweet smell of hay. Then one day the weather changed. Dark clouds rolled in and heavy rain poured down, drumming on the roof of the barn. Toto snuggled into a corner, a little scared by the storm. Suddenly a bolt of lightning struck Old Rusty, making him shudder. "Oh, dear," Spock cried. "The storm's getting worse. I'm afraid our engine might short-circuit." Just then, Farmer Joe rushed into the barn, his face etched with worry. "I need to get to the other side of the valley," he said, "but it's too dangerous out there in this storm. Is there anything I can do?" The tractors looked at each other. This was a serious situation. If their engine short-circuited, their magical abilities would be gone forever. "Farmer Joe," Old Rusty said slowly, "we need your help." The tractors explained their predicament, and Farmer Joe's eyes widened in surprise. "So you're asking me to drive you through the storm?" "Yes, please," begged Sprout. "But how? I'm just a human. How can I drive a tractor?" Old Rusty smiled. "Don't worry, Farmer Joe. You won't have to drive us. We'll drive ourselves." And so, with the storm raging outside, the tractors and Farmer Joe huddled together in front of the barn. They worked quickly, attaching cables and harnesses to the tractors and making sure everything was secure. Then it was time. "Are you ready?" Farmer Joe asked, his voice barely a whisper over the wind and the rain. The tractors nodded, their headlights flashing bravely into the darkness. "Then hold on tight," said Old Rusty. And with that, they were off, racing across the muddy fields, their engines roaring like engines of old. They splashed through puddles, skidded around corners, and finally reached the other side of the valley just as the storm began to subside. The tractors had done it. They had survived the storm, and it was all thanks to Farmer Joe. As they pulled up to the farmhouse, dripping wet but triumphant, Toto ran out to greet them. "You did it," he cried, throwing his arms around Old Rusty's shiny metal leg. "You survived the storm." The tractors laughed, their bells jingling merrily. "We couldn't have done it without you, Toto," said Spark, his blue paint gleaming in the fading light. "You gave us the courage we needed to keep going." From that day on, Toto and the tractors became even closer friends. They learned that true friendship wasn't about magical powers or fancy gadgets. It was about being there for each other through thick and thin. And as the seasons changed and the leaves turned from green to gold to red, they knew they had something truly special, a bond that would last a lifetime. And that, my little ones, is the story of how a little boy named Toto and 3 talking tractors became the best of friends and saved each other from danger with the power of friendship and a little bit of courage. Now, before we go, I want you to close your eyes and imagine. Imagine a world where tractors talk and where anything is possible. Imagine the adventures you could have and the friends you could make. And remember, no matter how big or small, brave or timid, rich or poor, we all have the power to do something great, just like Toto and the tractors. And now, my little ones, it's time for bed. Dream sweet dreams of talking tractors and magical adventures. And remember, the most extraordinary things often start with just a knock on the barn door. Until next time, goodbye.